So now I'm going to talk about call stacks. This is an important subject to understand if you want to wrap your head around recursion. So we had a data structure called a stack, and we used the analogy of a can of tennis balls. It's only the top tennis ball that you have access to at any one time. So you remove that one. Now the second tennis ball, we can remove that one now. And it's only when those have been removed that you can get to the one on the bottom. So I'm going to keep this structure of a stack here, and I'm going to move it over to the right, and we're going to use it as a call stack. So I'm going to explain the call stack with code that is not recursive, just to explain the call stack. Then we will get into some recursive code that uses the call stack in the next video. So I have some code here. I'm going to call this function, function1, and it's just going to console log out the string 1. So when you run this function, it goes onto the call stack. That function does. And when it runs, it's going to console log out 1. Once it's done doing that, function 1 is done running and will be removed from the call stack. So I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to change this function where before it console logs out the number 1, it is going to run a different function called function2. And function 2 is going to look like this. It is just going to console log out 2. But before it does, we're going to have it run another function. We'll call it function 3. And when function 3 runs, that gets pushed onto the call stack, and it looks like this. Now, function 3, we're just going to have it console log out 3. We're not going to have it call another function. But when it gets done writing the 3 to the console, this function is done running. And once it's done running, we can pop that from the call stack. Now you can see that function 2 is the top of the call stack. You can look at it like this. We were waiting for this line of code to complete, function 3, before we move to this line of code. Now we can console log out that 2, and now function 2 is done, and we can remove that from the call stack. Likewise, function 1 was waiting for function 2 to be done, and it can now console log out the 1, and now we can remove function 1 from the call stack. So notice we called function 1 first and function 3 last, but the 3 printed to the screen first and the 1 printed to the screen last. They're in reverse order of which they were called. And that is due to the order that these were put on the call stack. That's going to determine the order that these are going to be console logged out. So let's bring our code back up here. We'll look at this in DevTools. There is our code here, our 3 functions, and this is where we call function 1. So I'm just going to zoom out here real quick, come over here and run this. And you can see that we have 3, 2, 1, just like we would expect. And I'm going to clear this. So the real thing that I want to show here is this. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, this button right here, it says Show Debugger. I'm going to click on this, and we get this screen here. The thing I really care about, I'm going to close some of these, is call stack and breakpoints at this point. Then I'm going to come over here to where it says function 1. See, it highlights that number next to it. I'm just going to click on it, and it creates a breakpoint. And we can see that because it's highlighted, but we can also see it here. I'm just going to close this. And when I hit run snippet, that breakpoint is going to make it where that line at 15 is now highlighted. And what it allows us to do is walk through the code one step at a time instead of all of it just running. So up here, that button is for us to step through. Down here, function 1 is highlighted in green. That means that is the next line of code that is about to run. And when I click on the step button, it's going to run that one line of code. So I'm going to click on this, and on the call stack is function 1. Then over here inside of the function, it is about to call function 2. I'm going to click step again right now. That puts function 2 on the call stack. And the next line that's about to run there, this in green, is about to call function 3. So I'm going to click on step, and now function 3 has been added to the call stack. And you can see that console log now is the next thing that's about to run. So I click on step, and now it console logs out 3. When it gets to the curly brace at the end of the function up here, that means that we're about to end that function and remove function 3 from the call stack. So I'll click this again, and function 3 is now gone from the call stack. Now the next thing is we're going to console log out 2. I'm going to click this. Now we have console logged out 2. Now we're at the end of function 2. I click this again. Function 2 will pop from the call stack, like that. Now we're at console log 1, and we click this. It console logs out 1 down here. Now we're at the end of function 1, and when I click this, function 1 will be removed from the call stack. So I'm going to click this, and now that has been removed. And that is our overview of the call stack.